Today we're going to be talking about something very, very interesting. I know I like saying that most of the things we talk about is interesting, but today is actually quite interesting. It's something that a lot of people experience. It happens when you're faced with a high pressure situation, right? It could be a life circumstance. It could be certain situations you're being faced with at this time in your life. And what is characterized thereafter is a shutdown. So you don't know how to manage it, and what you do as a result is you shut down. So you avoid, you go silent, you disappear. Why that is and how you can manage it is why we are here today. Welcome back to the Tribe Clan. This is a space where high performing leaders, executives, elite performers come to work and improve their most important asset, their well-being. I'm your host, Judith Badibo. I'm a psychologist. I'm a well-being partner. And if you'd like to work with me on a personal level, the details are in the description below. So let's get into this video. Let's go into the nitty-gritty of why we're here. I'm sure everyone here has experienced feeling high pressure in their lives, right? And how you've managed that would depend on whether or not you are well regulated, how equipped you have been in the past. And if you're not equipped, there's no shame, regarding that. We're here to, of course, do better. Now, typically, whenever we have cognitive demands, whenever we have demands on us emotionally, so it could be cognitive demands can be due to work, right? Emotional demands can be due to, your relationships, it could be due to whatsoever it is, whatever the demand it is that is placed on you. When you don't have the tools to regulate properly and you find that you shut down, there are reasons for this. So why is it that during high pressure situations, sometimes we shut down? The truth is that our brain is very protective, right? When you are faced with difficult situations, it seeks to protect us. It seeks to regulate us the way it knows best. So if you don't have the best tools, it's going to use the tools at its own disposal, right? And what that looks like can be, what you currently are doing. Now, how does this play out in your life? How do you know if during high pressure situations you manage well, if you are regulated well, if you have the skill set that's required for you to do good? Imagine you have some deadlines. Maybe you have some projects that you're working on and you have deadlines approaching very, very closely. And instead of you getting things done, tabling them, breaking them down, you are avoiding. You are doing activities that are not as important. You are engaging in things that don't move the needle in any capacity. If anything, they are more distracting as opposed to taking you further. And in all of this, you are feeling anxiety constantly. I'm sure what I'm describing is not strange to anybody. So you already have something you need to get done. It needs to be submitted. It needs to be completed at a certain time. But instead of getting it done, you're avoiding it because it feels overwhelming, right? You don't even know where to begin. You're not breaking down to its core. Instead, you avoid. What that leads to and how it typically shows up is avoidance, and then you blame yourself, right? People shut down under pressure for different reasons, and it shows up in different ways and in different kinds of scenarios. We're going to take some of the scenarios, and then if it shows up for you in these ways, do the following things. Now, the first scenario it shows up is the avoidant way, in the way where you blame yourself. And so there's self-blame, there's also the avoidance. So you have certain things to do. You have certain projects and there's a timeline for you to execute, submit, be done with these things. But for some reason, you're not able to do it, right? If anything, you are distracted by other things. Sometimes you actively are even seeking out the distractions, maybe because you can't sit with boredom, maybe because you can't begin the task itself. Maybe it feels too overwhelming. You've not broken it down to make it simpler for yourself, right? Maybe you don't even know where to even commence this entire process. So if anything, you are engaging in avoidance behavior. And then as a result, of course, it increases the anxiety you're experiencing because it's piling up and piling up and piling up. And it's getting to the date, you have to make your submissions and you are overwhelmed. Does this sound familiar? Another way this shutdown shows up is the misinterpretation people tend to pick up from us, which is not really a good thing. So people see us as nonchalant about the task we are maybe collaborating on, not knowing that we're actually going through emotional fatigue, not knowing that we're actually going through decision fatigue, not knowing that we're actually having a mental block. But because we've not articulated it, because we've not faced it head on, we just went silent. So maybe you started a project with people, everyone was hyped up. You may even have been the person who championed it, made it very exciting for everyone. They bought into the idea, and then you've started it. And all of a sudden, certain things changed for you. Maybe the vision didn't seem, to align as it did in the beginning. And you took a step back, but you never articulated it. So people are misinterpreting it now as, oh, what's really going on? Is this being passive aggressive? Are we no longer aligned? And if anything, it sours the entire process, sours the relationship, sours the vision you had in the beginning. And this is what shutdown looks like now in the context of more people, right? So we talked about, how it shows up for you personally. So you're avoiding, you're feeling anxious, you're blaming yourself in the process. So it's not like you're exonerating yourself. For the most part, times like that, you call yourself lazy, you call yourself so many things. You think, why is this happening? Why am I not able to just step up and get things done? But there's a reason for this, and there are ways to manage better. Another way it shows up is the mental block you experience in the exact situation. So what does that mean? It means that you are probably in a meeting, for example, and you have to make your submission. You have a mental block, okay? You don't deliver to the quality you should be able to because you are in a shutdown mentally. You are not able to articulate your points very well. You are not able to share exactly how concrete the ideas you have. Even if you've prepared, or maybe because you did not prepare so well, maybe you were distracted the entire time, or maybe simply because you have mental fog. You've not been able to concentrate very well. Your focus has been, not the best. What then happens is, in hindsight, you are not happy, you are not satisfied with your work starts to suffer, your relationship with your work colleagues, or at least in the work environment, struggles as well. Whatever project it is you started, just feels like it's drifting and drifting simply because there was a high pressure and then it shut down because I simply did not know how to manage this high pressure. It trickled down to affect my own personal performance, which of course showed up in practice, right? Making me have a block in public, and also show up in the way where people who are collaborating with me feel like I'm no longer interested. I'm no longer present. This is no longer something that matters to me. Everyone gets a wrong interpretation of what's really going on. And as a result, it affects the entire work I'm doing. It affects my productivity. It affects how I'm showing up. What can be done about this? What can be done when you notice you have high pressure? You are put in a situation that, has cognitive and emotional toll and demands on you, which, life happens, things come up. We have things that have demands on us, they put demands on us, which is normal. What do we do then? How can we manage better? Because the skills of emotional regulation, right, is not something that you learn on the go. For the most part, no one teaches you. So you have to actively seek it out. Or maybe I don't have the skills to manage this well. If you recognize yourself in this, then these are the things you need to do. First thing I want you to look into whenever you notice a shutdown. So the shutdown shows up differently for different people. I already highlighted 3 different ways. So if any of them is already relevant to you, right, what you need to do is try to reset your nervous system. Get yourself to a state of calm as much as possible. And let's start with some type of physical activity of any sort that works to relax you personally. So for some people, a simple breathing exercise can be helpful. For someone else, it could be a walk, right, without sounds. A silent walk can be very helpful for them. For some people, a stretch can be very good. You want something that gets you moving and also gets you clear. So you're not having any distraction mentally because you want to be extremely clear in your thoughts. You also want to have something that you're doing that allows for you to process. Okay, allows for you to be bored, because when you are bored, so you are not doing a physical activity that distracts your mind where you can't think of anything other than what of course is in front of you. So maybe you're watching a TV show. That's not distracting in a healthy manner, right? How about do some type of exercise where you get bored? Getting bored in the process helps you to think. Then you start asking yourself, oh, what can be done about this? Okay, so let's get ourselves moving. Try to reset your nervous system, do calming activities. You know what calms you the best. Or if you don't have anything that calms you the best, things that I would prescribe for you would definitely be calming exercises, specifically breathing first. So if you're not able to move out of your current environment, maybe you're in the office, sit down, stop everything you're doing. okay, do some breathing. So you can breathe in for 4 counts, breathe out for 8 counts, okay? But make sure the breathing in is much shorter than the one you do out. The one you do out is to calm you even further. If you have space where you can walk, you can stretch, even better. Do something physical to relax yourself, to reset your nervous system, because you notice, oh, a block is already happening. Let me change the environment. Let me do something different. Another thing you can do again is to reduce your input. So you're already trying to create, you're already trying to do work, but you are finding a block. So maybe something that would have taken you an hour to get done and completed now is taking you much longer, and it doesn't feel productive because you sat there, you're not able to focus, you're not able to concentrate, and you're actually not creating a good work, right? So sometimes, your mind gets drifted here, your mind gets drifted there, or you simply, go through different tabs in your computer, distracting yourself intentionally, and then the anxiety builds up. Instead, step away from the whole setting of work, right? Do something that is not work related, but calming as well. So it could be something play, but it's timed. Please make it very finite as possible. And the reason for making it finite is, yes, you want to do something that maybe is entertaining, is funny to you, when you laugh, of course, we know when you laugh, it relaxes you. So it could be something comedic, but not something that gets you into doom scrolling, right? It's not something that maybe you start a conversation with someone who you may not be able to step it back away from, and it takes you maybe 4 hours. The conversation takes much longer than, you need to, and now the day is gone. You are stressed out, even thinking about how you can get back into the work. No, that's not what you want. You want something finite, right? But also takes you away from the constant inputs that you need to put into the work. So that when you come back refreshed. You allow yourself space for creativity, and then come back with a new eyes, fresh look into what you're trying to solve, whatever that is. Another thing that can help you when you notice a shutdown is co-regulation. So, when we are talking about emotional regulation, usually we think about it in an isolated fashion. So we always think about it as, oh, it's something I should always handle myself. I should have everything under control. I don't need anybody's help, but you actually need people's help. And sometimes this helps with managing those misunderstandings that could come up, right? Letting people know, oh, I'm feeling a bit stressed right now. I've been having headache. I think I need, to rest right now. So I'll get back on this. Okay. Maybe you're working on something jointly and you have the deliverables, at a certain time, and you have questions. So maybe what's really stopping you, causing the block is because you don't even know what the expectations are. Maybe ask questions from people you are working on it with. Maybe you have to submit it to a superior, for example, right? Or you have someone who might not be a superior but has another outlook that could help you. Let them know, okay, so this is what I'm going through, and I'm kind of struggling here. What do you think about it? What would you do in this situation? Have the person, give you that fresh point of view. And what that helps you to do is realize that I'm not in this alone. Sometimes regulation helps when we share the burden, right? It takes us out of that shutdown phase. It takes us out of that, I have to solve the problem all by myself. And if I'm not able to do so, I stay stuck till I'm able to find something to do. Staying stuck can be a month. Staying stuck can be a week. It can be a day. It can be 6 months. You never know. And we don't want to take the risk, really. So if co-regulation is going to help you, you have supportive people around you, supportive colleagues at work. Maybe you're a founder, for example, you have friends who are founders. Maybe what you're going through, it's maybe hiring or firing, whatever the case may be. And you want to share the concern. You want to talk about, oh, how, have you been managing hiring? Because I have a block right now and I'm not really pleased with the performance of my staff members, but, I'm not so great at delegation. I don't know what roles I should get people into. How did you go about hiring? Imagine sharing that and what that would mean for your own process based on the feedback that you get. Okay, so the key takeaway here is we'll always be faced with some level of high pressure, emotional demand, cognitive demand, work demands, whatever the case may be. Understand that your brain shutting down sometimes is because you don't have the skills to regulate properly. It simply wants to protect you. So using these tools to help you manage yourself better would definitely get you out of the slump significantly faster. Okay, so that'll be all for the video today. Remember, the Thrive Clan is a place for leaders to be themselves outside of the pressures of perfection. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.